I'm Tass Mellis of The Starters.
This is Ben Golliver with the Open Floor Podcast.
Hi, I'm Kristen Ludlow from NBA Inside Stuff.
I'm OG Anunoby of the Toronto Raptors.
Hey, I'm Elena Delanon, and welcome to the Double Clutch.
Double Clutch.
Double Clutch
Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Double Clutch Podcast. It's Tom Hall here bringing you an interview with Kyle Draper of NBC Sports Boston. We chatted a bit about the Boston Celtics and what their season is going to look like coming up, and again about the wider NBA and whether this is going to be the year that Ben Simmons is knocking those three-pointers down, among other things. We recorded this about a week or so after the FIBA World Cup finished, and on the same weekend as NBA crossover in London, which was a really great weekend of different things taking place. So Kenny Smith was down there of TNT. He was giving a bit of a season preview about what we might come to expect from the 2019-20 season. There was a Tisto shootout stall there. There was a 2K20 stall there, and loads of things. And it was just really great time to spend with other fans, chatting and getting to meet people all with the same passion for the NBA. And so that was a really great shout out to anyone who was there. So let's get straight to it. Here is Mr. Kyle Draper of NBC Sports Boston. Okay, so it's Tom Hall here, part of the Double Clutch podcast, and we're with Kyle Draper from NBC Boston. Kyle, welcome.
What's up, Tom? Thanks for having me, man.
So you're over here in London. We just had a Celtics meet and greet with the Boston Brit. What other stuff have you been up to while you're over here?
Just sightseeing, man. Being a tourist, just trying to experience London. It's my first time here. So I did all the sightseeing, went to the London Eye, Tower Bridge, all the things that, tourists, when they come, do. But I also wanted to get a little local flavor, too. So, that's why I wanted to do this meet and greet. Went to a concert in Hackney, which is sort of a, local area. Rode the tube a lot, Got my Oyster card. Is that what they call it, right? Yeah. So, I got to restock that, but reload that. But, yeah, man, just trying to experience London.
Cool. And then I guess for those guys that are listening that aren't Celtics fans, can you give a bit of background about yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Yeah, so I work for NBC Sports Boston in the U.S. The Celtics pre-game host, post-game host. I fill in play-by-play, fill in sideline reporter. So, during the NBA season, my life is all Celtics pretty much, wherever they're at, I'm usually at, or, at least talking about the games. And I've been in Boston 10 years now, man, and seen some of the good stuff, the highs, and some of the lows also. Yeah.
Cool. So my plan is hopefully just to get stuck in there a bit with some Celtics stuff.
Okay.
And then we'll zoom out and go for some wider NBA stuff.
That's
cool. So with the Celtics, what do you think after this summer of transition for so many teams, what do you think would be a successful year?
That's a good question. I think, for them, a successful year, no doubt, if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, that's a success. The NBA Finals, success. But even if they lose in the second round, as long as they don't go out in 4 games or 5 games like they did this past year with Milwaukee, as long as they put up a fight, I think it could be a successful season. There's so many different pieces. Kemba Walker, Enes Kanter, you got the rookies. And so I think, with this Celtics team, not much is expected of them. And I actually think that's a good thing. I thought last year, the expectations weighed down on them. They got off to a slow start, and they never recovered. And if you've seen Brad Stevens over the years, his most successful teams are the teams that people count out, that people don't believe in. And so I think, it'll help them this season.
Yeah. And I guess one of the things that's been holding the Celtics back, or the concerns are for this upcoming season, is losing Al Horford, is the rock on defense. We're worried about what the front court's going to look like with Kanter coming in. He's a good rebounder, but can he match the defense that we've been famous for? So what do you think the front court's going to be looking like?
You know what? I think the loss of Al Horford is bigger than the loss of Kyrie. Kemba Walker is right there with Kyrie Irving, in my opinion. Maybe a step behind, in terms of overall talent. But, the thing about it, Al Horford, they had nobody that can do what Al does. I mentioned, during the meetup that Al Horford is sort of the anchor of the defense, who's that guy now? Is it going to be Cantor? Well, he's not known for his defensive ability. And he's a great passer, talking about Al Horford. He's a great passer. He can shoot the three. So they don't have anybody that can do what Al Horford does. And I think what you'll see from the Celtics is, a lot of times they played through Al Horford. He was sort of a facilitator. Well, they don't have that big man now. So I think more will be on the plate of, let's say, a Jaylen Brown, a Jason Tatum, a Kemba Walker. Those guys will have to do more facilitating, setting up other guys because they don't have a guy like Al Horford. And you mentioned defensively, that's going to be the Celtics' biggest challenge. Not only do you lose Al Horford, Aaron Baines was pretty good defensively also. You look at some of his defensive numbers, defensive rating when he's out on the floor, they were some of the best on the team. And so you lose those two defensive guys and you don't replace them with any defensive players. And so the Celtics are going to have to outscore teams a lot, high-scoring games, I think, this season.
Do you think we're going to see Cantor? He's mentioned that Danny Ainge and Brad have asked him about the three-point line's not just there for decoration. Do you think we're actually going to see something there that maybe not at Al's level, but when he's open, he's going to be knocking them down? Or?
Well, I know the Celtics encourage everybody, if you're open, take the shot. They're very big into advanced stats analytics, and they're firm believers. An open three is much better than a contested two. And so it'll be interesting to see if Cantor can stretch out his range. I think right now his range is like 15 feet or so. So to see him try and go out to the three-point range, that's a big jump. That's a big leap to make. I think over time, it'll be something Brad wants him to do. I don't expect him to take 3 a game but if he's open, I think, they're going to encourage him to take it.
Yeah, I guess we saw it with Baines, so who knows if he
At
gets
first,
anywhere
Baines
close
wasn't
to
a
that.
three-point shooter, but then he took more and more as time went on. So I can see that with Cantor.
We're recording this fresh off the FIBA World Cup. It might still be a touchy subject for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, with so many Celtics out there, do you think that's something that is going to hurt us in the long run with fatigue setting in, or do you think it's going to be something that, I guess it depends on how the season plays out?
Yeah, it depends on. Well, I was talking to some of the guys over at the station about this. The FIBA World Cup had so much potential for the 4 Celtics to be a great experience. But if Tatum got hurt, Smart got hurt, and they came up short finishing in 7th place. And so I don't think they got all they could out of this. You look at the game, I think it was against France where Kemba Walker struggled down the stretch. How much impact does that have going forward? I think it was a good experience. It just could have been better. I don't think it'll hurt them at all. Think about it. When you bring back a Kyrie Irving, a Gordon Hayward, it takes you time to adjust. Well, 4 guys have been playing with each other. I think that can only help them. I just wish, the result would have been better. I wish guys wouldn't have gotten hurt. It would have been a more positive experience for them, because I got to imagine they're a little disappointed at how it wound up.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So we'll park the Celtics there.
Okay.
And we'll zoom out a little bit. I think about the wider NBA. I think most people would probably say that they have the Clippers down as the favourite now with Kawhi and PG. Mm-hmm. Who would you have beyond them, and even if you don't have the Clippers as number 1?
I still, I can't discount LeBron James. And I know the Lakers flamed out last year. They didn't even make the playoffs. But I expect LeBron James to have, one of his better seasons because he's hungry again. There's so many doubters out there. Now he has Anthony Davis with him. Don't discount Danny Green. That signing, I think, was good. Rajon Rondo's coming back. And so playoff LeBron, to me, is still...
If they get there.
If they get there, which they will. But, he takes it to a different level. But think about it. You could argue in the West, 5 teams have a shot. You could say throw Denver in that mix. Utah got better with Mike Conley. And so the Clippers may be the favorites because they have the 2 best two-way players in the game, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. But you could throw 4 or 5 teams out in the West, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of them make it to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be fun,
Yeah,
man. Think about it. Every team is is going to be excited to watch. I mean, you look at a team like San Antonio that's made the playoffs year after year. They may miss the playoffs this year, which is crazy.
I feel like we say that every year.
Yeah, we say
look
that
at the
every
roster
year,
and think there's no way they can make it.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Pop does it again. So.
And what about Houston? I mean, Westbrook and Harden, can they coexist? Like, I feel like every Western Conference team is sort of must watch. Even Sacramento. You know, Sacramento Kings, they haven't won anything ever, but they got a nice young group of players that I think will be exciting to watch.
Everyone, bar Charlotte, really is going to be an interesting.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is just go through a few things and comparisons to say what's more likely, and then maybe we can discuss it a little bit. So the first one's going to be, what do you think is more likely? Markelle Fultz comes out and has a good season, or the Knicks make the playoffs?
Wow. Why did it have to be like two impossible things? You know, no, I think Markelle Fultz.
You're that down on the Knicks?
Yeah, well, I just think the Knicks are a couple of years away.
Okay.
Chemistry issues, you know, they got a lot of new pieces. You know, I feel like they just threw in a bunch of players, and it's sort of a bridge year for them. Maybe in 2 years they'll try the free agency thing again. I think there's a reason why Markelle Fultz was the number 1 overall pick, man. And, you know, I said this while watching him, you know, in college. He can take it to a different level. Like, when he's playing his best, I felt at the time in college he was the best player. But we just didn't see it enough. And now, you know, the situation in Philly was all messed up. Hopefully in Orlando, it's a new start. It's a fresh start. I was playing NBA 2K the other day, and I see they have Markelle Fultz in the starting lineup. And so he has talent. Let's just hope there's a fresh start in Orlando, because they need a point guard down there. You know, that's one of their areas where, you know, they needed to improve on. And, you know, they got Markelle Fultz and didn't have to give up a whole lot. I mean, if he can be number 1 overall pick, Markelle Fultz, I think, you know, Orlando is going to be a playoff team, a team to watch out for.
Cool. Okay, so the next one. Do you think it's more likely that Kanter can average 35% from 3? Or do you think Ben Simmons makes 10 threes all season?
Ooh, that is tough. I'm going to go...
We've seen the videos in the offseason. But
yeah, that's the
time,
thing.
So.
You know, it looks like Ben Simmons can shoot and pick up. You know, we see the videos in the offseason. Cancer 35%. I'm going to go with Ben Simmons. The question about Ben Simmons, will he take those 3-pointers, you know? If he takes them, he's going to make at least 10, right, you know, throughout the season. I just think 35% for a big man who really has never shot the 3 is a lot to ask in the first season. Cantor, I think, can develop into a solid 3-point shooter. But think about it. I think Marcus Smart, it took him, you know, all the way up until this year to really become a 3-point shooter and average, you know, 35%. So I'm going to go with Ben Simmons making 10 or more threes. A couple of them might be like buzzer beater, half-court heaves, you know, those account, you know. But, yeah, give me Ben Simmons.
Okay. Next one. Dwight Howard plays in the playoffs, or the Pelicans make the playoffs?
Oh, man, these are so hard. Oh, my gosh. Dwight Howard plays in the playoffs.
Do you think he's going to last?
I think with LeBron there, this is his final shot. Lakers aren't going to need 25, 30 minutes from him. You know, he's going to be a role player. So give me Dwight Howard. The Pelicans are going to be sneaky good, though. If they were in the East, they'd be, you know, top 5, top 6, top 7 seed, obviously. But out West, I just think it's going to be too hard for them in Zion's first year.
Fair enough. Okay, do you think Melo is going to make a roster, or someone other than Zion is going to win Rookie of the Year?
Melo should make a roster.
You think so?
I think he should. I mean, the level of disrespect people are putting on Carmelo is amazing. Like, I think Melo will make a roster. So I'm gonna go with Melo. Zion, you know, when you look at, I think Rookie of the Year, he's going to get every opportunity. Like, he's the franchise. The ball will be in his hands. But I think Melo will get one last crack. You know, you look at Brooklyn. You know, KD's out. You need a wing scorer. Maybe you sign Carmelo. Does he go out L.A. and play with his boy LeBron? I think he'll get one last shot. Yeah.
Okay, last one. Do you think the Nets will make the finals, or do you think CP3 is going to stay at the Thunder all season.
The Nets have a better chance at making the finals, I think, right? Because if you're the Thunder, you're rebuilding. You know, you need to get something for CP3 while you can. And so I see him, you know, being on the move by way of trade at some point during this season. I think Brooklyn, who knows? We say Kevin Durant's out for the year. Does he come back in April? I don't know. You know, maybe, you know, he comes back. And, you know, if you look at Brooklyn, they're a scrappy team. They have Kyrie. Maybe Milwaukee or Philly gets upset early or something like that.
Because they were okay this season, I guess. Like they did all right in the playoffs.
Right.
They took one game.
Yeah.
And then they've replaced Russell with Kyrie's an upgrade.
You would think that's an upgrade. Exactly. And then, you know, they added DeAndre Jordan, even though I didn't like that signing.
Not for the money.
Not for the money. And you got Jared Allen, a young, up-and-coming big man. Why sign DeAndre Jordan? It'll be interesting to see how that plays. But I just think, you know, Brooklyn will be a fun team to watch. You know, Kyrie, I think he's going to be, like, out for redemption. You know, this was a bad year for him. And so I think he's going to be trying to prove doubters wrong.
Do you think it'll last? I know Bill Simmons has said on his pod that he thinks he'll start well for the first couple of months and then it could go the same way that it has with the Celtics.
No, I don't agree with that because if you remember, Kyrie chose Brooklyn. He didn't necessarily choose Boston.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, at 27 years of age that he eventually is going to mature and say, you know what? Everybody is against me. Everybody thinks, you know, we're going to fail in Brooklyn. I'm going to do my best to make sure this works. And so I think he's going to be great in Brooklyn. This is what he wanted. He wanted to be in Brooklyn. He wanted to be in New York on a big stage. And so I think it's going to be a great season for Kyrie.
Yeah. Super. Well, Kyle, thanks so much for joining us. What are your plans for the rest of your time in London?
I'm going to the Arsenal match, Arsenal-Aston Villa, you know, to check out some football
Are you
over
an
here.
Arsenal fan or?
I'm actually an Aston Villa fan,
Okay.
but I can be converted.
What's
you
the
know?
link with you and Aston Villa?
My buddy, he's a big Aston Villa fan. We went to Birmingham for a match a couple years ago, and I just became a fan then. But I could be convinced to be an Arsenal fan, too. Yeah. We'll see.
What's your prediction?
Aston Villa is not very good, so I got 3-0 Arsenal. I don't think it's going to be a close match at all.
We'll see. Well, Kyle, thanks again. Hope you enjoy the rest of your time over in the UK. We'll catch you soon.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Hello, DC lead writer Josh Coyne here. Thank you very much to Kyle Draper for taking the time to speak to us and Tom for making it happen. For more leading NBA in the UK content, make sure you follow Double Clutch UK on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, while subscribing, rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Of course, that would really help us grow. You'll be hearing a lot from us shortly, but until then, farewell.